Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Building a Minecraft City. I am again in Newport, and I'm going to keep this intro very brief because there's going to be a not live, but a in-person commentary section later on where I'm building in real time rather than just time lapse. So I'm just going to be quick here and let it get going. I'll see you later. Okay, welcome to the live play section of this video, since I felt like I should probably do that. And this video needed to be longer, so, here we are. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to start with doing some world edit. I should probably explain what I'm doing. So I decided I want to do this plaza, and I figured this is a good thing to do in live play with you guys, because you can kind of see, like, how do I decorate a space like this? Just to try to understand what we're doing. The other thing is, if you don't know, I have my own texture pack that I've worked on, and I use some stuff from Vanilla Tweaks, but like some textures are my own. Like, I can just show you, like, these brick. I used the Minecraft brick texture, but I just recolor them to be various grays because Minecraft doesn't have gray bricks, and it's literally a crime. So I am going to start with that and see how it's going. I'm gonna be honest, guys, I don't know if I like it. I mean, I like this texture of a block, but I don't know if I like it for the plaza. Now, obviously, this grass isn't gonna stay exactly the way it is, and I might replace it to... Oh, this got broken. Oh, don't do this to me. And then I also have Axiom, which allows me to do that. Trust me, if you are trying to build in creative without Axiom, what are you doing? Get it right now. I might be stuck with this. You know, if I take my other ones, especially my dark ones, because I don't want to just like be all the same. Like, there's going to be designs here. I'm thinking of doing a fountain in the center, and there'll be trees and places to sit, and all the fixings of a good plaza. But we need to start somewhere, so I think we are going to start with this. Okay, so dead tube curl 100. Okay, yes. Okay, and then I think we're going to find the center the easiest way I know how. We're just going to start making lines, roughly. Okay, there we go. So that is the center, and that does look up. Well, no, that doesn't really look right at all. I mean, I feel like the center's over here. Maybe I don't know math as well as I thought I did. That's a possibility. That is actually a very good possibility. Well, we can still use this. It's kind of cool that it's a little asymmetrical. This is what we can use our andesite for. So if our middle is, it's a 2x2, which I don't like. So we're just going to like pick one, and it will all get covered up eventually. Let's pick this one. 2, 3, 4. Bigger. I want this to be kind of a big fountain. I think that's plenty big for this area here. Okay. So we're just going to come in here and delete everything from inside this circle, because this is going to be our central fountain. Well, central fountain as in it's slightly off center, because it kind of looks nice being off center, not gonna lie. And that's not me coping with the fact that my maths didn't work out the way I wanted. It would look better slightly to the left, wouldn't it? Because right now it just looks like slightly off. Well, once we add trees, I think it will be fine. Okay, next thing's next. I want to make some straight lines coming out here, because these are going to be some radials. Okay, so now we have the basis of something. It's okay. There we go. That's what I was wanting to happen. Okay, and then I'm going to grab a shovel. Shovel. And I'm going to go to brush. Okay, let's see. How big is this radius? Also, forgive me if my my keyboard is very loud. It just is. I think this is how big I want it. And now you can kind of see why I did the yellow wool, because now I can know exactly where the next one in the line is. And I'll show you after I do this one. This is a great way to do paths, by the way, if you're doing paths in creative. Because look, now I have it thick all along. Because especially, I mean, these are straight lines, but if you do anything with curved lines, like I can show you right over here. In this park, I did this trick. Right, because if you want it to curve nicely, but always be the same width, what you do is you just lay down a wool block or anything in the shape of path that you want. Then you G-mask to whatever you're applying it to, right? So here was grass, so I G-masked to grass block, which meant that in World Edit, it only applied to grass blocks. It didn't change any other block. It didn't create a giant sphere. And then I just go through and you right click using your brush tool on every block and you get these beautiful curved paths. There might even be an easier way to do it. I don't know, but this is the way I know how, and I think it's good. And of course, afterwards, you just, take the block that you want to be in the center and you just replace it. If I can actually click right. And I'll finish this one off completely so I can show you what it looks like. See? And now you have a little bit too thick of a line for me, but Well, now you get the point of how it works. This is a bad example because honestly, I think that looks kind of terrible. I don't like this. I hate this. I really do not like this. Here's what's going to happen. I am going to pause, and when you come back, all of this will have changed. Okay, and we are back for a second time. I'm so sorry about that. This is what I have now, which hopefully you will agree is a lot better. You may be wondering, why are there two colors now? Well, because I've decided I'm also going to do regular bricks. So these lines here will be regular bricks and more thin, and these ones will be the dead horn coral, which are like very dark bricks. So I think that will give us some nice like contrast and things to work with. So I already have this wooden shovel preset to work. So now we're going to redo what I just did, that same technique, but we're going to do it for all of these. And I will be right back after I do all of the yellow. Once I do the brick, we'll come back. Okay, just a second. Okay, now in this update, just not much time after I've done, as I said, all of the yellow lines, I decided to make each of the bands a little bit thicker. I think it looks a little bit stubby, but I think it's kind of required because of how big this plaza is and how many radials there's going to be. So the brick is going to be like the behind, like the background in a sense. So I've kept the same G-mask, so it's only going to affect the tube coral block here. So it's not going to go over top of this darker brick that I have, the horn coral, right? And if you're using any block for your plaza that you choose, and you're trying to do something like this with the radials, like I would recommend doing this, because the idea is it's kind of like the rose compass where you have, north, south, east, west, and all that kind of stuff with the diagonals in between, and then even smaller diagonals in between those, but they're behind because these aren't like any kind of extreme cardinal directions. So we're just going to do the same. We're going to come here and just right click every single block on each of these lines. It's going to take a little while because some of these lines are very long, but it's really important to get every single one because missing one is going to obviously alter it. It's not going to fill in nicely. And then we're going to go back, replace the center line with brick. Okay. Go in here. And then after this, now one thing I do want to do is I want to go back over some of this beginning and fill it in like that. And there we go. There's one of our lines. So you can kind of see what I'm talking about where it's behind these darker lines. And I think with this being slightly thinner than these lines, it is helping to make them feel less stubby. So I will be back again for a fourth time, third time. I don't know. I can't count. But I will be back after I've done all of these brick lines and we'll get on to doing some of the trees. Okay. And there you go. We filled it in. Okay. I think the next order of business is I actually kind of want this center fountain to be a little bit larger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this. I am going to use a little bit of world edit here. So we're going to do HCYL, that's for hollow cylinder. We want it to be made of polished andesite right there at the top. And I think we're going to try to start with a 7. We'll see how big that is. Okay. This isn't too bad. You can see the brick is just now hitting that fountain, which is kind of what I'm looking for. Okay, we're going to keep that in mind, but I'm going to undo that because we're going to try it again. 8 this time, and I want to see if that's any better. That is a very large fountain now, but for the size of the plaza that we're looking at here, I think that actually works a little bit better than the 7. So this is what we will go with. Okay. So then we're just going to come in here. And I know I said we'd do trees next, but I'm getting distracted and I just want to clear out the center of this fountain first. So now the question comes in, where do we put the trees? I think we're going to actually do podzol because I think podzol looks more like the kind of dirt you would see under a planted tree, like in a city environment, because they're usually not filled in with grass or anything. It's like it's a dirt. It's like a mulch almost in some cases. So now we need to decide where we want to put the trees. So let me think about that for a second and I will be back with you. Okay, I am back. As you can see, I've laid out some more wool. You can tell that I like wool for planning things, right? Okay, and you might be wondering why there's 2 colors. The brown is obviously where the podzol is going to go. The black is where I'm going to put down some of these black stone walls is kind of like bollards. So you'll be able to see the vision. Now, I think it's pretty obvious from where I place these that I haven't based the placement of these trees on the radials. I tried working around with that for a little bit, but it just wasn't looking right because obviously while each of these radials are equal from each other at the beginning, they're all different at the end, which is the whole point. It's asymmetrical. This is moved off to the left, and so some of these spaces are very large, some are small, and so it just really made it difficult to fit in trees in the way that I wanted. You might also be wondering why I'm spacing these trees so far apart. Well, it's because while normally, I can show you here, I like putting trees relatively close together so that it's more dense and more filled in, and so that when you're walking on the sidewalk, it's more closed in and you feel like you're closed away from the road. So, as a pedestrian, the idea is you wouldn't feel like you're part of the street. No, it feels like you're almost in your own street by yourself walking besides these buildings. But for the plaza, I want it to be open. I want you to be able to stand in this plaza and see all of the buildings that will be around it. Obviously, there's not only 3 buildings around it right now, but eventually there'll be, buildings on all sides, and I want you to be able to sit here and enjoy looking at those structures. So I want them to be more spaced apart. And yes, I'm aware there's only one here. That's on purpose so that I can have a tree on each end, because it bothered me that it wasn't symmetrical. Okay, so I'm gonna go around and start replacing these. And to be honest, this is another repetitive task. If you are following along in any way, I guess go ahead and start doing this on your own. I will be back after I complete doing all this. Okay, and we're back again after that very short update. I apologize, by the way. I wish I had more to just like show you in a sense, but hopefully this next part we'll be able to do more in depth because it won't be quite as repetitive. Okay, quickly before I start adding trees, well, a couple things. One, these deep slate walls, you might be wondering what these are. Ignore these. These are just going to be placements for future traffic lights that are going to be coming into these intersections here. You can kind of see one of my designs over here. Also in the first episode, you can kind of see a little bit of like how I build these a little bit. So there you go. So like these will be appearing in those corners, and that's what they're there for. But I probably won't be doing them now. I probably should because it's like a part of the plaza, but I don't feel like it. Okay, second thing. You can see this lineup of trees. These are all trees that I've custom made myself, and I've brought over from my old world, and this is specifically the set that I made at one point, and then these are trees that have accumulated over time because I realized this is not enough variety and I needed more, and there's even more trees that just aren't here. And I put it in this like pink little box with a little wool block here so I can easily move it around. Of course, now that there's extra trees, it's a little harder to move all of these around, but the whole point is that I have these available. So I'm just going to start going in. I want to choose these types of trees here. So I've got the 3 variety because honestly, there's a lot of trees in this build. If I did every single tree custom, it would take forever and I would get bored and I would hate it. And why do something you hate when you can do something you like? Okay, so we're going to start with this. Now I'm using Axiom here. That's why you can see it glowing like this. This is a good reason to use Axiom for trees. Honestly, it really is. So place a tall one there. And I'm pressing Control R to rotate. And I'm just like going around, occasionally rotating it a little bit. Just kind of fill it in with some of these. And then I'm going to go back with some of our different varieties. Maybe put one over here. 1, 2, 3. And maybe, we'll give it a big gap here. And you might think that, oh, you only have 2 or 3 varieties of this tree. It's going to look very, very repetitive. But honestly, you can get away with a lot, especially when you have them spread out as much as I'm going to have here. I mean, I can show you one of the parks that I've done at least. Yeah, as when I showed earlier, my spacing of trees, right? You can see these are some of those varieties. And I think that when you rotate it enough, if you make sure when you build the tree originally, you create enough variations to have a set, mainly with heights. But once you have all sides being slightly different, you can create a lot of variety with only a few options. Overall, it just helps so you have to do less work. I mean, if you really wanted to do every tree custom, go right ahead. I don't know if I would recommend it unless you absolutely love making trees custom and you're decently good at it. Custom trees are something that personally I'm not very good at. That's another reason why I do only a few, and then I just move them around. I was about to say, and if you think these are amazing, like, sure, go ahead, compliment me. Each and every one of these took forever to do because I'm just not very good at doing custom trees. I have to work really hard to get anything that I'm even vaguely happy with. And so I tend to just repeat the ones that I am happy with. And truth be told, some of these I'm less happy with than others, but that's okay because they don't have to be perfect. They're trees. Okay. Okay, I think we're gonna do... I think that's good. I think the rest we will fill in with this slightly... Oh, was that the slightly taller one? Now I can't remember. Maybe this will be the short one coming in now. We'll see. I'm gonna copy this and bring it over, and it's gonna turn out to be the exact same one. Okay. Yep, that's the one I just did. I knew it. This is why you should always pay attention to what you're doing. Okay. This is our last tree. And you can already see what I'm talking about of like being able to see the buildings in the background, because some of them are filled in close enough, and you can see, like, you know, this allows for a wide open space so that you can see more clearly the buildings that are going to be behind, which is the point. I think, you know, in my methodology, when I'm choosing whether I want a space to be a park versus a plaza, I'm doing it for different reasons. For me, when I build a park in a city like this, I want the park to be immersive, right? I want you to feel like you're in the forest in the park. You know, think like Central Park in New York City. The point isn't to see buildings. The point is to feel like you're in and completely surrounded by nature. Plazas are spaces dedicated for you to be able to appreciate the city. And that, to me, is the difference. It's not just that one has brick or concrete versus the other one being mainly grass. It's more than that. It's the reason why it would be one way or the other, you know, is because of that. It's whether or not you want to be surrounded by nature and get out of the city environment, or whether you want to be surrounded by the city environment and be able to appreciate it. So in plazas, you don't want a ton of trees because you won't be able to see the buildings. But in parks, you want a lot of trees because you want to feel like you're in a different place than where you really are. You want to feel enclosed. And if you're designing your own city or working on anything, you know, like this, or just thinking about that when you're walking through real cities in real life, you know, just think about that for a second and be like, okay, well, what is the purpose? Why is this a plaza or a park or vice versa? And then you can grade it based on that, right? Is it a good park? You know, some parks have different purposes though, right? You sometimes have lawns, which are, to me, lawns where there's just large expanses of grass. To me, most people call those parks, but to me, they're just plazas, but with grass. Because in my mind, that's how I would define them. That's, you know, it's not actually how they're defined. They're always called parks. You know, in terms of dialect, they're called parks. But to me, and how I view them, I see them as plazas that are just made of grass, because again, the purpose isn't to feel like you're surrounded by nature. The purpose is to appreciate everything that's outside. So it's like parks are places that you enter to appreciate what's there. Plazas are places that you enter to appreciate what's outside of it. You know, you enter a plaza to appreciate a building that you're walking into or buildings that are surrounding you. But a park, you're not going to a specific destination in a sense. You are in the destination. The park is it. So, and that's a little bit rambly, so I hope you didn't mind that too much. But I just wanted to, you know, get that out and to kind of explain why I wanted this to be a plaza and not a park, and part of the reason why these trees are so separate and why I want to be able to see the buildings. Ignore those really ugly ones back there. They're supposed to be ugly. That is the design. Okay. So, as you can see, I've moved using Axiom some of the walls down. And now I'm going to be filling in the floor of this fountain. We're going to fill this thing up with water. As I'm filling this up, I need to decide whether or not I want to do a statue here of some kind. I'm inclined to say no, because I think the water itself would just be pleasant. I think adding a statue here would be a little bit much, but at the same time, this fountain is clearly like very prominent. But I think the size is going to make up for that, right? Because with the radials pointing to this fountain, it would be weird if it were just to end up being like this. If it were just literally just plain water and it were a little tiny fountain. I mean, imagine going on a grand, like, Champs-Elysees kind of, that was a terrible pronunciation of that. But, you know, like if you were to travel on this beautiful boulevard road and then at the end was like a wooden shack, you'd be very confused, right? Because these big radials, it would be weird if they were to come here and it would be a tiny little just lake, little concrete pond. So it needs to be something that's relatively grand. But because it's such a large fountain already, the grandness comes from its size, and so it doesn't necessarily need to have any kind of large ornamentation inside accenting that. It's already accented. Of course, I don't want it to just be still water, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a wall, I think, and we're going to go with just a simple andesite wall here, right in the middle. I'm debating on whether I should go classical or modern or just have a water jet, right? Because if I take some blocks like this, put water on top and delete the blocks, then you could just have like a water jet that would be coming up, right? Kind of like you would have on a lake, but they have fountains like that too. I'm thinking I kind of want to go simple with this, simply because there is a lot of decoration in this plaza, but I imagine this plaza, in the history of this city, is probably relatively new with this kind of a design work, and with it being asymmetrical and not in the center, I imagine that a lot of these fixtures were put in at a later date, and so probably it wouldn't be too classically inspired. It would most likely be more modernist and therefore simplistic in its design. So I think we're going to go with just some simple water jets coming up. I think that's good. We'll have a tall one in the center and then smaller ones on the outside. Okay. Now for this, I will have to turn back on. So I'm holding down Alt and I'm turning off the no updates. I want there to be updates because I want the water to fill in. The reason I turned off the updates is because there are some like here, this obviously is not actually possible, but it is possible with Axiom. But as I was placing blocks here, if there's updates, then when I place a block next to it, it would keep breaking, and that's just annoying to have to keep going back and fix. So I turned off updates, but now we'll turn them back on. That's also probably why the wall was acting weird there and not actually connecting, but also semi-connecting. So I think we're gonna start by just filling in this space with water, because we know that we're gonna want water here. Okay, fill it around. Hopefully it will just eventually fill up. There we go. Okay. Then we need to decide, and we have to think the water is going to be one taller than whatever I place here. I think that is actually good. Yes, I don't want it to be too tall. Oops. Okay. Now, we're going to test some different heights here. I think that's a little bit too tall. Well, let's see. Right, adding a lot of water, adding a lot of height, adding a lot of space into your fountains, I think is what's going to help combat the, I wouldn't say blockiness, because it's not the fact that it's blocky that's an issue, it's the fact that it's just so wide, right? If this was just one pillar of water and you didn't have these side sections, which there probably is some like cheaty way to do that I just haven't ever figured out. But if you could do that, I mean, I guess you could do that using barrier blocks, but if you could, it would probably look better. In fact, maybe I'll try with barrier blocks here. Let's try this. Okay. I need to be smart with how I do this, because if you do it bottom up, it's going to obviously change the water. Okay. So only these 4 remain. Let's just see, is this worth it? I think it might be. Wow, we're doing it live. We are fixing it. Okay, remove the barrier block. Let's see how it looks without the giant red nose on it. And to be honest, it looks tall, which is kind of interesting. It's because, well, it's not actually that interesting, because when you think about it, it's because the dimensions, whoa, I didn't know you could do that. Ooh, that makes me want to try something. But anyways, as I was saying before I got distracted, the reason why it suddenly looked really tall is because you're changing the proportions, which, you know, does matter. Okay, let's try this. Okay, I think I'm liking this. Okay. Now let's see. So if I go here, well, this definitely makes it easier. Well, there you go. We're learning tips and tricks live. Let's see. See, now that center one's too tall. Let's try that. How are we looking? See, now something doesn't look right about it either, but I think we're at a better position than we were earlier. I think I'm liking this more. I wish there was more splashing. Maybe we do that? No. That's awful. Thank you. That was straight up bad. I think this looks okay. Hey, next order of business. We could get rid of this, by the way. So now we have our trees, we have our bollards, we have our fountain. The next thing is to fill in the space with some other stuff. Frankly, the thing I always struggle with plazas is realizing that, especially in real life, a lot of times and I've noticed this in, like, you know, in some like countries like Spain and things like that, plazas are really just wide open spaces. A lot of the times there's little to no furnishings, like very, very little. You know, I'm the type of person, I guess I'm a maximalist in that way, where I just want to fill it with everything. I want to like put a playground over there and benches and seating and all this stuff here. But realistically, it would be a lot more open. And it's hard to do that in Minecraft, especially because I feel like the scale of Minecraft makes you want to build small enclosed spaces that feel more cozy and homely. But for realism, and in order so that the plaza itself doesn't detract away from everything around it and the area doesn't become too busy, it really should be mostly empty. In fact, I know I said I would put trash cans and benches, but I think we might end up just doing a few trash cans. Might not even do benches. Maybe we'll do benches. Okay, let's see. 4 benches, if we do them, I want to do it out of polished blackstone because I think polished blackstone looks the most like wrought iron. It feels fancy. It feels nicer and more, you know, well put. Okay, and then for trash cans, I have to travel because I'm lazy and I don't have to look it up. Let's finish this plaza, and then I do promise you, I think we're going to take a quick tour of some of the areas that we've done in this episode and last episode in with shaders, I should say. The reason I'm not building with shaders, by the way, is because Axiom doesn't really work with it. I mean, it functions, but visually there's a lot of like visual glitches and stuff, so I tend to just not like worry about it. I build without it. I build without shaders, and then I just put shaders anyways. Because to be honest, if something looks good without shaders, it's going to look even better with. It doesn't always work the other way around, which is dangerous sometimes, because like as a person who built it with shaders a lot in the past, because I think just shaders make everything look better and just more pleasant, I think I tended to build things that didn't look good without shaders on, and as soon as you turn the shaders off, it's like, oh yeah, no, the shadows do not work, this is not what I imagined, and all of a sudden you need to start changing things. And then you put it back into shaders and it looks even better. So to be honest, whether, you know, the shade type of shaders you're using works with Axiom or not, I would actually recommend, like, I honestly would like fully recommend just turn them off while building. Build it without shaders, and then when you go to take photos or show someone else even, pop some shaders on and it's going to look way better. Because I think shaders end up being a little bit of a crutch because they elevate things so much. Having proper shadows and light rays and light angles on builds helps a lot with depth and with glass and things like that, where it starts to become shiny and you can start to get like the refraction and reflection off of these blocks, and you can start to understand, like, it just starts to feel better because light is so important in a scene. So as I was blabbering on about light uselessly, I put our trash cans in. This is the design I have for trash cans. It's not the best. I wish we had like a darker version of this, but this is just the design I've always gone with, the cauldrons. And I could just leave it open cauldrons, but I kind of like covering the tops. So that's what we go with. Okay, and then for benches, I think maybe we'll put some benches around. Okay, let's think here. What if we do this? How much space is that? 6? I don't know if I like that. What if we did it like this? That's not terrible. Okay. Then, to make this easier on myself, we're going to do this. Then we're going to rotate it, pull it around over here, paste. And then paste. And then paste. Okay, I kind of want to do one at an angle. That's going to be really difficult. Okay. I need to like visualize where, this would be. I mean, I'm thinking like here-ish or so. Now, let's go get some regular blackstone, because it's going to be easier to place this as blocks and then reform them. Okay. Thinking that's good. It almost feels like what it needs to be is that. I like that. Okay. Then what we're gonna do is this. Might be as good as we get. I don't know. Or maybe we do this. And then maybe we get a slab here. Okay. We're gonna hit Alt. See, I wish we could just have like the one. Whoops. I wish we could just have the quarter block there and here. But I think that's as good as we're gonna get. It's kind of awkward, and I may get rid of it in the future, but I think it's as good as we're gonna get. So I'm gonna do this, and then we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna rotate it around here. And, this is one of those things where sometimes you give in having something, you realize it's not gonna look good up close, but from a distance, it's gonna look okay. Because from a distance, those are important. Those were needed, very much so. And I think they're in the right place too. Maybe they needed to come a little bit forward, but I like where they are, right? It feels appropriate. It would have looked, it looked strange without those. And I think, to be honest, that might be it. That might be our plaza completely finished. Again, you could add more stuff out here, but I'm not going to. I guess the next thing would be lights. I don't really have any good light designs personally, and that's something that I think I'm going to do in the future. I'm just not very good at making lamps in Minecraft. Not very good at all. So that will be something for the future to think about. That might end up going in between some of these like trees, like in between the bollards maybe. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to video settings. I do use BSL shaders, by the way. Now you can see. And we're going to do a quick tour of the stuff we've done in this episode in shaders. So again, instantly you can see shaders just made this instantly beautiful. right? Everything all of a sudden is just amazing, gorgeous, never before done, absolutely stunning. Like, it just looks good with the shadows from the trees and the water. And yeah, the water pillars look so much better. The water, just the shining. Like I said, if you build with this on, you're going to end up building worse than if you build with it off and then turn it on later, simply because it ends up being a crutch and it makes some ugly things look nice, or at least okay, when in reality they don't. I mean, even these benches look, actually, they look better here than they did without shaders on. But I am keeping them simply because there's not much you can do with diagonals and benches without making it significantly larger. Okay, so let's head this way. This isn't exactly where we were, but we'll head over in this direction here, where other things we've been working on this episode, like this firehouse here, and then some of these other buildings. Yeah, the light on that advertisement is a little bright here. That's one thing, sometimes light doesn't help you coming in, but I think it's okay. The shadows from these leaves coming down here on the walls. It's good. It's looking good. Okay, and then from the last episode, we had this corner here with this clock tower, the entrance, one of the entrances into the stadium. Have this condominium here, and probably maybe a condominium, maybe an office building, probably offices, realistically, here. The trees, in this area you could sit down here, eat your lunch. I imagine eating like a sandwich here, like a California sandwich with like the avocado and everything. Sitting down, in the summer when it'd be warm. You can tell that I'm recording this in the middle of winter and it's dark and cold and sad outside. But yeah, that's everything. Okay, so now it's time for the outro. If you liked this episode, please do put a like down below and please comment. You know, if you have any questions that you want to ask, or if you have any suggestions. I'm pretty new to this. I say new, it's been 3 years, but it's also been 2 years since my last episode, you know? Well, a year since my last episode. It's only been 2 years. I haven't been doing YouTube that long. But I'm still learning how to do this, and I'm trying to figure out what it would be liked over another, right? Do you like the commentary and the live working through stuff? Would you like to see me do a building in that way? Or do you prefer just time-lapse it? Should I just time-lapse everything? Go with that. I'll leave it up to you, right? Comment down below what you prefer. Until then, I think I'm going to do a mix like I did in this episode. So if I don't hear anything, I'll take that as a yes, this is what you want in the future. But yeah, so I'm getting distracted and losing my train of thought here. So I'm going to wrap this up. Again, if you like this, please leave a like below. Comment, any suggestions you may have. And if you want to see more of this, think about subscribing. It's going to make it easier to find future videos, and hopefully they'll get recommended to you. Probably not. We'll see. I know sometimes, people that I'm subscribed to, their videos don't show up on my recommended feed until weeks later for some reason. Thanks a lot, YouTube. But either way, subscribing will make it easier to find more content if you do like what I'm doing. I hope that you're having a good day, week, whatever. Good. And I hope you continue having a good day, week, night, whatever it is, wherever you are. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you for episode 3. Bye-bye!